This is Dr. Bradley Nelson, author of The Emotion Code, How to Release Your Trapped Emotions for Abundant Health, Love, and Happiness. You're listening to Justin and Kate on Extreme Health Radio. For more information about the Body Code, visit extremehealthradio.com/body code.
Welcome to Extreme Health Radio. Extreme Health Radio.
Where natural solutions to almost every health condition are out there. Join us on our journey to find them.
Now here are your hosts,
Broadcasting from sunny Southern California around the world,
Justin and Kate Stellman.
If I could find which button to press, maybe we could start this show, huh?
We're having some issues this morning.
Yeah, just looking at all these buttons here, and I just had a brain fart. Which one do I press to
I saw you. You look kind of panicked, like deer in the headlights.
Oh, my gosh.
You're
wow.
funny.
We are having some sound issues here. I'm not sure if you just heard that little
Tidbit.
and the intro music just went away.
All right.
And so if you notice any sound issues, we're working on them. We have no idea what's going on. Maybe we have a little
Demon in our...
a little sound demon running around here in the studio. But my name is Justin, and this is extremehealthradio.com/163. And we're going to be introducing Adam Bergstrom on the show today. He's an amazing guy. And that voice you heard a few minutes ago was my wife,
Kate. And I'm taking notes for everyone, so I'm the secretary as well.
the secretary of note-taking.
Right.
There you go. We do shows 4 days a week, and we're broadcasting worldwide from Southern California today. It's a beautiful day here. It's Thursday, October 14th. Is that right?
October 17th. You are off.
I'm way off. The sound thing is really screwing me up here.
I know.
October 17th, 2013, and we're having sort of an Indian summer, aren't we? It's like
Yeah.
this really hot, warm fall day. It's amazing.
Which is fine, but I wish it felt like fall for like a good month, and then if it were to come back in like middle of November, then you'd be really excited because you
Right.
feel like you've been in the trudges of fall, you know?
Yeah.
But it's all good.
We'll press on.
We'll press on.
Yeah.
So hard to deal with.
People have had to deal with worse, I
Well,
think.
right.
If you'd like to support our show, you can do so. We'd love to have a lot of you support us. A lot of you have been doing this through Amazon. It's really a great way. If you can remember to buy on Amazon through our link, we'd be so appreciative. It doesn't have to be health-related, and you can do it every time you purchase. If you go to extremehealthradio.com/Amazon, we would love that. We'd get a little commission for your order, and that'd be great. Maybe we can pay someone to fix this sound issue here.
Oh my gosh, right?
The music keeps going in and out.
Okay.
If you'd like to be on the show, we'd love to have you join. You can always email your questions in to Justin at extremehealthradio.com.
Or Kate, Kate, at extremehealthradio.com.
And looking at our lineup, we've got some good guests coming up. We have Dr. Larry Lytle. He'll be talking about healing with light energy.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Energy medicine of the future.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll be fun. We'll get into the whole light thing, and then we're going to travel to the 14th dimension with Chris Kaler. Yeah,
I hope we do.
that'll be fun.
Oh, I love him.
I love this stuff. And we're going to be talking to Adam Bergstrom about this kind of stuff today.
Yay.
I love it. It's so much fun.
It is fun.
And then we've got Paul Hulich, I think his name is, on natural stress management. His website is stresspandemic.com, and we'll be talking about natural ways to reduce stress in our lives, because that goes along with energy as well. You know?
And who doesn't need that?
Golly, living in today's world.
Oh, I know.
Have to learn how to manage stress. And today we have Adam Bergstrom. He is just a fascinating man. He's been on our show on episode number 78, 89, 100, 116, and this one is 163. And his website is solarman111.com, and he's been teaching workshops and seminars around the United States since 1977. Crazy. He's got 50 years of health experience in nutrition. He's been counseling with people with various diseases and ailments since the 70s. His expertise is in nutrition and chronobiology, reflexology, slit lamp iridology, meditation, I Ching, Sufi, and other holistic modalities. Incredible. And he graduated from O'Donnell Lay's Texas Institute of Reflex Sciences back in 1979. And thank you, Adam, for being on the show today. How are you doing?
I am doing great. Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, excellent, excellent. So it's been a while since we last talked.
Yes, 2 or 3 months, I believe.
Yeah.
That's right. And ever since then, I have to tell you, Adam, about 4 times a week I see the clock at 1111, and I think of you.
A lot.
Aha, the magic number.
The synchronicity, right?
And I think of you all the time.
Okay.
And so I wanted to ask you about the solartiming.com. Has that been launched yet?
No, well, yes, it has. It's actually free now. There's not that much information on it yet.
Okay.
But we'll be incorporating, let's just say there's a lot of things in the works right now. And by the next show, I'll probably be able to tell you what they are.
Oh, I love it. I love it. So right now your main website, if I could say that, is solarman111.com, right?
That is still where you can get my books. I've got a new one called Time Conscious Eating Simplified, make it a little easier for people to understand. Otherwise, our regular book, our softback book is Yes, No, Maybe, Chronobiotic Eating. That's still available on Amazon.
Wow, excellent. What kind of stuff have you been up to lately?
Mostly research. I'm pretty much isolated here in Montecito, California, so I'm in a compound away from people. Pretty much been a hermit lately.
Uh-huh.
Back in the day, I used to travel around the U.S. doing workshops in body language and meditation and solar nutrition, time-conscious eating, and various other things, even conscious dreaming.
Conscious dreaming. So you would hold workshops on all these subjects.
When I studied with Swami Nitty Gritty, or Adon Lay, back at Texas Institute of Reflex Sciences, he was basically a Renaissance man. So we studied everything from Kirlian photography to color therapy to reflexology to chiropractic, you name it. It was all there. So
wow.
We almost left nothing out. Plus, I worked for 5 years in a metaphysical bookstore, and we sponsored in all the superstars at the time. Psychic healers, channelers, you name them, we had them.
Wow. And so you still kind of do some of that stuff, right?
I still do, but now pretty much it's behind closed doors. I haven't been on the road for a while. I'm about to take a trip to New Zealand soon.
Wow.
Possibility of starting some sort of center there. And basically, it's mind healing, not energy healing. There's a difference because mind healing is one step above energy healing, since mind directs energy.
Wow,
in martial arts, they say that the chi is important, but it still has to be directed, and that is directed by consciousness.
Is that what you're doing with practices like Qigong or Tai Chi? You're directing the energy through your mind? Is that what's going on?
Yes, it's intent. As I studied briefly with a man named Master Chen, and he's the real deal. A lot of people don't understand Tai Chi, especially Americans, that it really has to do more with mind directing Chi. They get hung up in Chi. In fact, Qigong is not the spiritual part of Tai Chi. Tai Chi is the spiritual part of Tai Chi and works with what's called the 8 extrasensory meridians. Qigong is basically for health balancing and involves the 12 acupuncture meridians that most people are aware of.
How important do you think it is for people these days to do practices like that? Do you think it's pretty important?
Some sort of practice is important to get out of our mind. And it's more than, the mind will lead to more problems. So the idea of mindfulness, I actually advocate the other thing, is mindlessness. The trick is to dump the mind because it's like being confined to a railroad track. Most people meditate, they're like on the tracks. They have no choice but to go where the mind takes them. But real meditation, you could call it soul meditation, is actually being on an airplane and not being confined to linear tracks. You can go anywhere you wish.
Wow. So how, in your meditation, how do you do that?
Usually it's an acoustic meditation, which means sound. You'll hear meditation people talking about the audible life stream. Well, acoustics come from everywhere, every direction. With eyes, you can't see around walls usually unless you use a mirror or something like that. But with acoustics, the sound can come through the door, around the corner. You can hear it in the other room, from another room. It goes around the corners. So meditation that involves sound or mantra, which leads to the sound that we hear in our ears. Now, they call it the nadis. You go up through the chakras and you hear various sounds, starting with the sound of bees. When you hear a buzz in your ears when you're meditating, you're at the first chakra. You get other instruments as you meditate upward. When you get to the second chakra, you hear flutes, for instance. You hear harp or guitar at the third. You hear the bell sound at the fourth, and so on up.
Wow. So what kinds of, I guess, mantras do you do when you meditate, and how long do you meditate?
An ideal form to meditate is 2.5 hours. However, I haven't been doing that lately.
Wow.
I've been busy doing other things, but that's the ideal time to meditate. Now, if you work it right and you escape time and space, you can do it in 5 seconds.
Wow, I guess, yeah, if you're not confined by time. So what kinds of mantras do you say when you're meditating?
Well, anything works. Even if you say Coca-Cola, if you say it over and over and over again, you tend to leave the mind and go into the intuitive state.
So it's
Otherwise, mind is an acronym for moving in no direction.
So it's kind of similar to focusing on your breath, but it's just an audible form of that, I guess. Just trying to train your mind to focus not on your thoughts and things, right?
It is. It's audible. And ultimately, the audible life stream is inaudible to most people. Blavatsky called it the sound of silence. Now, the sound of silence has a silence. It has a sound. If you go out in the woods, you're much more likely to hear the sound of silence because in our regular existence in civilization, we hear background noises, whether it's the air conditioner or whatever. When you're out in the wild, especially at night, you're much more likely to hear the sound of silence. And by the way, the most likely time to hear it is at 4 a.m. when our sense of hearing is at maximum. And that's why in India, they call the hours between or around 4 o'clock the hour of nectar. That is the best time to meditate. It's like in golf. All you have to do is put yourself into higher consciousness. You don't have to drive yourself into higher consciousness at that time of day.
Interesting. So you just kind of work with the actual time of day, and that helps you not have to really strive so hard to get there.
Yes, you're much more likely to hear the sound current if you wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning and meditate. And you don't have to do anything. You can just listen. And particularly, listen through the right ear. When you get advanced, you'll actually hear through the center of your forehead, which is a third ear. We hear about the third eye, but the third ear is more relevant to meditation.
Oh, that's so.
How do you know if you've reached that?
Yeah.
You'll hear it in the center of your forehead. I once met a crutchy old chiropractor. He was in his 80s, and he said, "You're going to think I'm crazy, but I hear a ringing in my forehead, and it won't go away." And I told him, I studied with a teacher who said it took 18 years for him to reach that experience. And so now I'm going to tell you what he told me. I wouldn't make it go away if I could, because it's a spiritual state.
Wow. So we've been getting a lot of emails lately about people that write in and they say, I'm really interested in the physical side of health and all this stuff. And it's invaluable to learn what to eat, when to eat it, what supplements to take, how to treat certain diseases and things. But then they always inevitably end up telling me that they're really interested, and actually more interested in the emotional side of healing, the energetic side of medicine and things. If I had to tell you, Adam, to put a number on the importance of comparing something like meditation or qigong or whatever kind of energetic modality you want to pick, something like that, and compare that to eating and having a right diet, how would you compare those two? How important do you think it is to meditate or do something like that?
Well, it's either top down or bottom up. And nutrition, living clean and green, works from going from the bottom on up. And that's valid. You can get into higher states, or you can start from the top down and realize that all diseases are ultimately mental diseases. And what I mean by that is they're all a version of phantom limb pain. We don't really have diseases. Our mind creates diseases. Now, there's a difference because people will get offended when I tell them that their conditions are psychological. They're not. They're psychosomatic, meaning somatic. They're in the body. They're very real, but they didn't get there from a germ. They didn't get there from whatever condition they're saying it came from. It came from the mind. And it can make cancer, broken bones, all of those, right from the mind.
So would it be preferable, do you think, to work from the from the top down?
I believe in both, and then you meet somewhere in the middle. And by the way, let's talk about what our chakra system is. Swami Nitty-Gritty, Adonai Lay, had his own name for the chakra system. Rather than using complicated terms and Indian terms or whatnot, he just simply started at the bottom with matter acting on matter. The second chakra is energy acting on matter. The third is mind acting on matter. The fourth is energy acting on energy. The fifth is mind acting on energy. The sixth, an ultimate placebo, is mind acting on mind. And the seventh is being acting on mind. And finally, the God state of being acting on being. Nothing but isness.
Wow. I don't even know how to respond to that. That's pretty.
It's a little hefty.
Yeah. Wow. How did he come up with that?
Well, he got it internally. He was born with mental powers, and then he evolved and became a Swami ultimately. But he had powers where he could actually, as a child, and he would get punished by his father and his father's guru for this, he could make people be paralyzed, and he'd walk by and stick his tongue out of it and walk on as a little brat in the growing up in the jungles of British Guiana. And anyway, his father would know about what he was doing, and he couldn't figure out how he was doing that. So he ended up studying meditational states, or getting connected with Paramahansa Yogananda, later Sharon Singh, a lot of other gurus.
And this was Swami Nitty-Gritty that you're talking about.
Swami Nitty-Gritty, born in 1924 in the jungle, and he said his life was very much like Crocodile Dundee, starting in the real jungle and then ending up in the asphalt jungle of Houston, Texas.
Wow, what a story. Wow. That's amazing. So in today's call, you wanted to talk a little bit about releasing emotional traumas through toxic engrams. I was curious when I got that email from you, what the heck is an engram?
Well, most people are familiar with the term engram from Scientology, but actually it goes back 100 years. And the Scientologists, bless them, have an imperfect understanding of what an engram actually is. We are conditioned by the pharmaceutical companies to think that the mind is in the body. It's actually not in the body. Rupert Sheldrake is quite correct to say the reason they connect consciousness with the body is like the TV set. Just because you can't get your TV reception doesn't mean that consciousness is confined to the brain. It means your connection with the mind outside the body is broken. So scientists will talk about neural nets and how you can't exist without a brain. And actually, a broken brain is like a errant transistor or a part of the TV that keeps you from your connection. And ultimately, all engrams do are block our connection with ultimate soul or ultimate omnidirectional existence.
Okay, this is good stuff. We have to take a break, but this is...
We'll delve into that.
Yeah, we're going to delve deeper into this because this is really fascinating. It's like I feel like it's like watching Star Wars with the Force or something.
Totally.
You know? It sounds really great. Okay, this is good fun. We're with Adam Bergstrom and his website. Don't forget to check it out. So, solarman111.com, and we'll be right back after this break.
Would you like to feel more energy and a better sense of well-being? What's flowing through your blood makes all the difference. In my 22 years of nutritional practice, I've found that the food and supplements taken into the body determines to a large degree the amount of energy and happiness people have. One giant step in the direction of more energy and happiness is the type and quantity of protein you consume. 2 years ago, I was introduced to a whey protein powder that gave me more energy and a better sense of well-being. Having struggled with low energy, this was a welcome experience. This protein is called One World Whey. It is the first ever undamaged whey protein powder from grass-fed cows. People report the following: profound improvements in blood sugar and energy, elimination of pain, better bowel movements, detoxification, younger-looking skin and fat loss. Athletes love the strength and endurance-producing effects. Call 888-988-3325. That's 888-988-3325. Or visit oneworldwhey.com. That's oneworldwhey.com.
And in my opinion, this is the best raw grass-fed protein powder on the market. It's developed on Amish farms. It's got 25 grams of protein in each single scoop. Crazy amount of protein. Increases your glutathione levels. It helps to release heavy metals and toxins, decreases inflammation all throughout the body, especially in the gut. And not only that, but it helps you build muscle and increase energy as well. It has tons of anti-aging properties. So really, really great protein powder. We like to use it every day in our smoothies. And our resident cancer guru, Ty Bollinger, what do you think about One World Whey?
Over the commercial there, you're talking about One World Whey. I want to encourage anybody that's listening, go to their website, go to Justin and Kate's website, and buy the One World Whey. That's something that we include every day in our diet. Every lunch, we have a One World Whey smoothie with super greens mixed in with it. It is fantastic. It's the best protein you're going to get. And as they mentioned, it's from grass-fed cows. It's organic. It's cold pressed. I mean, it is. You're going to get huge nutritive values from this One World Whey. It's the best protein on the market, I think. So, then that's something that most people are deficient in is quality protein. So I highly recommend you go there and go to their website and buy this stuff. It's the best that's on the market. And I'm good friends with Stephen Hewer, who is the owner of Synergistic Nutrition, and he's a quality guy, and they have excellent customer service as well.
Yeah, he's an amazing guy. We interviewed him on episode 88, and he's just an amazing guy, and I really love what he's doing. That's why I love supporting his work and love taking his products as well.
Yeah, great stuff.
And if you'd like to support Extreme Health Radio and the work that Kate and I do, you can get your hands on this One World Whey protein powder that I love so much at extremehealthradio.com/whey. That's WHEY. Or you could check it out in our store as well. That's extremehealthradio.com/whey.
100% listener supported. Extreme Health Radio. Opening minds and transforming lives worldwide. Don't forget to join our thriving community for health tips, inspiration, and show updates at extremehealthradio.com/Facebook.
All right, we're having some interesting conversation going on here with Mr. Adam Bergstrom. Really, really good stuff. And
interesting conversation, you and I at the break, just what this sparks in you, when you're off the air. It's awesome.
Sometimes I feel like you and I should have a microphone
during our break,
just strapped to us, at certain key points during the day that we could just record
24 hours a day, just our weird thoughts and conversations.
That might have to go on our new Tuesday show if we do that.
You never know.
Oh man, interesting stuff. And as the lady said, don't forget to follow us on Facebook. You can keep up to date with all the happenings of the show, new shows, old shows, and inspirational content on Facebook. So don't forget to follow us on there. And also, I want to let you know about that One World Whey protein powder. That stuff is amazing. And I really, really encourage you guys to get some of that and at least just try it out. I think you're going to really, really like it. So it's just really, really good stuff. We like supporting Stephen here from Synergistic Nutrition. All right, so with the engrams, you were saying before the break that they are not necessarily stored in the brain of each person.
Justin, now everybody's gone.
Oh, wow.
Can you hear me? Oh, you're back?
We're back. Okay.
Should we try to call him back?
Let's try to pause this really quickly.
Okay.
Okay, so Adam, before the break, you were talking about how these emotional toxic engrams happen not necessarily in our minds, but throughout the cosmos of the universe kind of thing?
Yes, they are, because we can actually get traumas from other places than ourselves. When we're vulnerable, we can be vulnerable to the thoughts of others. Our thoughts are not confined to our brains. They are elsewhere. Now, the pharmaceutical companies would like us to believe they're confined to our brains, that instead of psychosomatic, our lives are somatopsychic. That way, they can sell us a drug to adjust our serotonin, our dopamine, and other neurotransmitters in our neural net. All sounds fancy, but they've got the cart before the horse.
Wow. So how does one not be susceptible to other people's toxic engrams?
Willpower. Once a person gets the willpower to stay focused, I believe it was Emerson or someone like that said that if you put your foot down thoroughly and steadily, the whole world will turn around to your point of view. Great men and women have done that. They have refused to give up, refused to stop doing what they're doing, and then we have the great inventions of society and the great spiritual innovations too.
So that sort of drive and that sort of, I guess you would call it determination, like you said in the email to me, that sometimes our individual memories go as far back as before the sperm and the ovum unite and become us, right?
There's a memory bank that goes back to the beginning of time. People who have had psychedelic experiences, like John Lilly and Timothy Leary, both reported going back to the original mud of existence when they went all the way back through their ancestors to the beginning of time. Now, that's a mental trip still. You can go beyond that, because those two gentlemen were stuck in the linear aspects of mind, as great as they were for having certain experiences.
Wow, so they were stuck in their own mind.
Still stuck in their minds because they still had their karma to deal with and still had their emotional issues that were never resolved. So many times people, including myself, thought that meditation was going to be all these great experiences you had. Then I hooked up with a man named Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, who explained that the purpose of meditation is what your life is like outside of the meditation. What happens to you in your life? What do you draw into it? And we have the consciousness to change the weather, to change the very environment around us. It's called the power of synchronicity.
So when you said in your email that our individual memories go back before the sperm and the ovum unite, does that also mean that perhaps our personalities do that as well?
Yes, they do. Our personalities go back quite a ways. And what personality is minerals moving at a certain speed. The nutrients in our body make our experience. The only thing that really exists in the universe is oxygen or consciousness. The yogis call it the witness technique. And when you do the witness technique, you're out of the drama. You have found the projectionist. You're not involved in the movie. Many of your listeners have seen movies like The Matrix, Dark City, The 13th Floor. They're all about the movie and how to get beyond the movie. When people go and attempt, if the movie's bad, if they go and cut the screen to stop the movie, it's not going to work because it's coming from the projectionist.
So, gosh, that's so crazy. So in some weird way, that's what's happening when our personalities get downloaded. So the actual sperm and the ovum are just, I guess, carrier mechanisms. I guess a lot like water?
Yes, like a carrier wave. Downloaded is a very good word, by the way. We get downloaded. Now, they call it genetics, but it's not confined to DNA, and it's not even confined to what they call epigenetic, in other words, an expression of the DNA. It's actually transgenetic. It comes from outside the DNA. Now, most of us associate and connect with the DNA, meaning we connect with our karma. But you can go past the karma by living now. If you live now, is there any past? Is there any future? There can't be, because it's only the now. When we live in the past, we get the results of the past. When we live in the future, strangely enough, we get the results of the future, too. They determine our lives. We're now on a railroad track instead of our own airplane, or even better, jet plane, or even better, rocket ship, or even better, flying saucer.
So, Kate, you were saying something to me the other day about not being able to journal, or not having the desire to journal recently.
Yeah.
And we're talking about the past and, if there's any value in people's stories. And remember you were saying some stuff about that?
Yeah, I was talking about yesterday, I think, in fact, how I've just had a block. I've been a journaler my whole life. I find value in the past and the story of the past. But in the last year, I've had a blockage, and I don't know why, and I'm kind of rolling with it. I just, it's fine. But I was telling Justin, I go, I wonder if the power of the past is holding me, in a place. Is it important to remember the past of our stories, or just to live and move on? I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
Is to realize that our past is not truly our past. It's our imagination. Now, it's good, though. It's enjoyable to enjoy our past. We're here to enjoy it. But if your past is a really good past that leads to really good things, like if the trauma of your grandparents is to be a billionaire, that's a pretty good trauma. I wouldn't drop it too quickly. But if your past is one of abuse or traumas or poverty or whatever, that might be a good one to change. And all we have to do is change our idea of the past that really didn't occur to change our nowness right now. Because you can't have karma when you live now, because there is no past and there is no future.
Wow. So do you think there's any value in people's stories? I know you kind of just touched on that, but, we read books there's, the books, The Four Agreements and things like that, where, we hear about your story is just that. It's just a story you tell yourself. And, I think that's always in reference to when people have these, toxic kind of stories where they say, I am a certain way, and they fall into that label. But is there any time where you think a story might be good for somebody, to go back and reminisce on the journey that they've covered, kind of thing?
There are values in them. Now, the trick is to remember our job. When we come here, we have a job to do, and we all forget what that job is. It's distraction. We get distracted by the bells and whistles and everything going on in life as we proceed. By other people's stories, we get intertwinkled. But we all have a story, and that's our job to figure out what we're doing on this planet and find the projectionist. That's the real trick. All meditation is introspection. You go within, and you go to different levels of within, and you go there with an airplane, not with a train. Most people go there with a train. They connect with their stories, and then they end up moving in no direction, which is the true name of meditation. It's an acronym of mind. Now, meditation, according to Swami Nitty-Gritty, was an acronym for the following: mental energy directing individual thought activity towards intuitive observation with noumena or nature. And the key word is intuitive. Intuition is much different than intellect.
Wow, that is amazing.
So that kind of brings me to the question that I was going to ask you earlier, is to come to these levels of consciousness or chakra moving and things like this, does the intention have to be behind it to move forward, or can people go about their daily lives and just come into these moments of higher consciousness without the intention, just because of a story they've experienced or a situation that they've been in that causes them to elevate? How does that work?
They happen without intention, but ultimately there's an intention behind it. It's just repressed. Now, most people enter consciousness the following way. It's like they get hit on the head and knocked out, and then they get dragged to a secret island. It's beautiful. It's all their fantasies and everything. They come back, they get knocked on the head again, and they get taken back to civilization. And now they tell people, look, I experienced this. But they can't take the person to that same place. The ultimate is when you just can consciously go to this mystical island, come back and go and come at will. but most people can't. They have a mystical experience. They attempt to share it with other people, and the other people think they're loony sometimes. Or if they've had an experience, they said, yeah, that happened to me back in 2006. I remember that. It's for real. Yet they can't tell other people how to get there. And though a lot of bucks are spent with studying with people who claim they can take you there, but mostly they can't.
Wow,
and I've been with people who could bilocate and bend the laws of physics. As Swami Nitty-Gritty said, you can't really break the laws of physics because you'll break yourself against them, but you can bend them. And we call those paranormal and supernormal experiences, bilocation, psychokinesis, telekinesis, remote viewing, mental telepathy, all of these so-called pseudoscientific experiences, which are really quite actual.
Wow, this is good stuff. We actually have to take a break here.
Darn.
But from when we get back from the break, I want to talk about some of the issues or some of the things that Kate and I have talked about with deja vu. And because he says here, some of our memories originate in our microbiome, the bacteria in our gut that outnumber our cells by a factor of 10 to 1.
Oh, my gosh.
So deja vu, that reminded me of deja vu. So I'm sure all of you listeners have had deja vu before. So this is a fascinating conversation with Adam Bergstrom. Solarman111.com is his website, and we'll be right back right after this break. I have been a huge fan of rebounding for many, many years, and if you want to get in great cardiovascular shape, tone your legs, back, and butt, and stomach, as well as cleanse your lymphatic system from toxins and chemicals, you just have to start rebounding. It's imperative. And not only will it create endorphins that quickly become addictive to you, but it's very low impact as well. It helps to prevent sicknesses and diseases, as well as increase bone density, and it flushes toxins from your lymphatic system. It's amazing. And not only that, but it's a ton of fun also. I do it every single day for about 15 minutes. And we found the best rebounder on the market today in the world, bar none. It's called the Bellicon Rebounder. It's the Rolls-Royce of rebounders, in my opinion. And let's listen to some of what our guests have had to say about rebounding. Robert von Sarbacher is a health researcher and creator of the Mini Beat Protocol. And Robert, what's your favorite exercise?
In general, probably one of the number one anti-aging exercises on the planet is rebounding. So 15 minutes a day is good for that. You can find people who have had thermography scans on cancers, giant tumors, and when they're doing a rebounder, it would start spewing out and shrinking right in front of your eyes, the tumor would, as they're on the rebounder. So it's really good for that sort of thing. It's also very good for exercising internal organs. It's the only internal organ exerciser that I know of known to man.
Dr. Lindsay Duncan is the CEO and founder of Genesis Today. And what's the best way that you think of to stimulate the lymphatic system of the body?
Rebounding is incredible because it's good for the lymphatic system, and there's more lymph fluid in the body than there is blood. And the quickest way and the most effective way to get the lymphatic system flowing is through rebounding itself.
Yeah, because the lymphatic system can't really detox itself, can it? I think
No, the heart, we have the heart, thank you, for pumping blood. And we don't have a heart to pump lymphatic fluid. The only thing that really can pump lymphatic fluid is cardiovascular exercise utilizing the thighs, the thigh muscles. And that's why rebounding and getting a burn in that thigh muscle is so important for the flow and the stimulation of the lymphatic fluid.
Wow, and they even put cancer patients on rebounding, don't they?
Nutritionists do.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but not a conventional doctor. But yeah, I've been learning about rebounding lately. It's quite an amazing thing.
Yeah, rebounding's amazing.
Health researcher and author of Cancer Step Outside the Box, Ty Bollinger. What do you do in your life to prevent cancer?
What do you do to treat cancer? What do you do to prevent it? Rebounding is something that I try to do on a daily basis. A little mini trampoline for those people that aren't familiar with the term rebounding, but it's basically just jumping up and down on that little mini tramp. What that does is it stimulates the lymphatic system. Lymphatic system is one of our primary detoxification systems in our body, and most folks don't stimulate their lymph flow, and so the toxicity in their body builds up because their lymph is not stimulated, and the up-down motion on a rebounder stimulates the lymph flow better than just about any other exercise. So I do that almost on a daily, probably 5 days a week. I would say I average doing that.
And finally, author and speaker and creator of the Longevity Now program, David Wolfe. Do you think the Bellicon is the best rebounder on the market today?
Absolutely. I was just with the crew in Europe that does the Bellicon Rebounder, which is an incredible rebounder. My God, what a machine.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't use metal springs. It uses like flexi ropes. So it's very soft and fun, and it's just great to play with.
Well, there you have it. The up and down G-force actually stimulates every single cell in your body. It's incredible. And as someone who works out in the gym a lot and does Qigong, I think that the best physical aerobic exercise, in my opinion, is rebounding. It's just absolutely incredible for the human body. And the Bellicon is silent, and it comes with a warranty, and you can get them in several different sizes and colors, and some of them have bars that you can hold on to in case you're worried about balance. It's a well worth it investment in your health and in your future. So check them out in our store if you'd like, or you can check out the videos on extremehealthradio.com/Bellicon. Again, that's extremehealthradio.com/Bellicon. That's B as in boy, ELLICON.
All free shows, all the time on Extreme Health Radio. Opening minds and transforming lives worldwide. Join our community today. Sign up to our email list and instantly get our free gift to you, along with loads of inspirational content and cutting-edge tips to help change your life at extremehealthradio.com/subscribe.
So you and I were just laughing about how fun this conversation is.
I'm loving this.
Oh my gosh, great stuff.
Brings up all kinds of topics that you normally wouldn't have at a dinner conversation.
I know, right?
I love it.
That's all good stuff.
Love it. I love it.
So if you're interested in Adam's work, he can actually work with you too over Skype, I believe, at solarman111.com if you want to get a hold of him. And as the lady said, don't forget to sign up to our newsletter series. We're giving away a really, really great ebook that sells for about $20 on Amazon, but we can send you a digital copy immediately called Lessons from the Miracle Doctors. And all you got to do is go to extremehealthradio.com/subscribe, and I'll send that to you right away, and you can check that out. It's a really good book, lots of natural cures for things. And yeah, and also don't forget to check out that Bellicon. Amazing machine. We love it. And just a great, great rebounder. So don't forget to check that out. And I want to get back to some of the things we were talking about. And Adam, before the break, we were talking about, you say that some of our memories originate in the microbiome. And that just immediately spurred me on to think, is that what's going on when we have deja vu, do you think?
Well, that's true, but we also have something called Raja vu. Raja vu is the granddaddy of deja vu. And here's the difference. In deja vu, you see something happen and you say, wow, this has happened to me before. But in Raja vu, I'll give you an example of what happened to me. I was sitting on the front stoop in Boston, Massachusetts, and I looked down the street, and I said to myself, wow, a yellow van is coming around that corner. And then it came around the corner. So it wasn't me seeing the yellow van as it came around the corner and remembering it. It was remembering it before it came around the corner. That's called Raja vu. And in a strange way, that is possible for all of us. We can live in Raja vu and know what's happening when we get beyond time, which is the fourth chakra, energy acting on energy. But we must go to consciousness acting on energy, where the mind directs the energy. The mind doesn't direct the matter, but it directs the primary energy that directs the matter.
So before the break, you mentioned something about, which I thought was really interesting. You mentioned something about how what's more important than meditation is what happens when you're not meditating. And you just talked about a story about the Raja vu. And so my question is, how do we get to a point where in our daily life, walking down the street, driving to the grocery store, doing our daily errands, whatever it is, that we're living in that state? Is there a way to enhance and maybe bring that awareness into things we do on a daily basis?
All meditation is ultimately introspection. So all we have to do is observe ourselves. One spiritual way to observe oneself sounds ridiculous. You wear a wizard's hat and a funny outfit, and you go walking down the street. Now you'll notice a funny thing happens. You start watching yourself because you're embarrassed. Who would have thought that embarrassment is a spiritual state? Because now you're watching yourself. You're aware of where your hands are. You're aware of the clothes you're wearing. Normally we get lost in the environment. We get sucked into what's out there, and we watch other people. Instead of truly watching ourselves, we watch an image of ourselves as the other people are watching us. In Gestalt psychology, they call that giving other people our eyes. So we take our own vision, both inner and outer, away from ourselves.
That's so fascinating.
Wow.
So how do our thoughts and our ideas originate in the minds of people thousands of miles away from us?
Well, the carrier wave is carbon dioxide. When we talk about acid rain, all rain is ultimately acid. It just gets more acid when you put sulfur and nitrogen into it. But the reason rain is acidic is because of carbon dioxide in the air. Okay. Carbon dioxide is acidic, and it is the carrier wave that connects our thoughts at the speed of light to each other. Now, back in the day, and this is dated, Swami Nitty Gritty looked at us and said, "It's easy to read Mr. Gorbachev's thoughts when light travels around this planet at 7 times per. When a thought goes around this planet at the speed of light." 7 times per second. So I can read Mr. Gorbachev's thoughts 7 times in 1 second. So the possibility of this are endless. It's like fractals. They go on and on and on, never end. When you live a fractal existence, a quantum existence, instead of a linear existence. But our minds are so attached to our stories, and they're fun, they're here for us to enjoy. But when we get totally trapped in our stories and cannot experience other stories, we do for a moment. We watch a movie, we see the hero, we identify with the hero, sometimes with the villain, sometimes with the sidekick, and we live somebody else's life, somebody else's story. But we don't take it seriously. We take our own stories so seriously, we don't realize they are movies too, and we can leave the story anytime we wish.
So let me just try to figure this out. So carbon dioxide in the atmosphere of the Earth is the actual carrier wave for this type of thing. And what are we doing when we feel like we have an original thought? Like perhaps you're saying that some of our original thoughts that occur, quote, in our mind may have originated in people thousands of miles away from us on the other side of the globe. What's going on there? Is it almost like a universal mind where it's almost like cloud computing where there's no individual people with their own mind, but it's all floating around in this central kind of database kind of an idea?
In a city in Germany, they have a statue to the man who invented the light bulb. It wasn't Edison. It was another German gentleman who discovered the light bulb on the same day that Edison did. So these thoughts are out there in the ozone, and they tend to crest like a wave. So if two surfers are riding a wave, the wave may be 100 feet apart, but they're following the same wave. The same thing occurs in our thinking process, that it's the wave that is occurring at that time, and we can identify it. The wise person identifies with that wave, so he's right on the break of the wave, and then he becomes part of the natural trend that's happening. But seconds ahead, because he realizes he's on the crest of the wave, and other people are getting hit by the wave.
Wow. Okay. So that's sort of what that's sort of what we're doing when we're doing meditation, right? We're kind of like doing a spiritual exercise to try to train or unravel our mind or disassociate ourselves with who we think we are in order to tap into this kind of information. Is that right?
Yes, to identify with our skin, not our spine. Most meditations are linear. The spine is linear. They identify with the sperm, which is linear. Now, when you identify with the ovum, it's round. And a sperm is, about 80,000 times as large as a sperm is, or something around there.
Uh-huh.
And so, it's the mothership. When we identify with our skin and not our spine, the spine is our kundalini. It's linear. But when we identify with the cosmodyne energy through our skin, and how do we identify with carbon dioxide? Our exhale. When we identify with our inhalation, we're in our body. When we exhale, we're out of our body. But most people prefer to identify with being inside their body instead of outside. Only in emergencies, like they're in the hospital and suddenly they're amazed when they're looking down at themselves from the ceiling. And, wow, what am I doing up here on the ceiling? I'm supposed to be in my body. Then the crisis passes, they're back in their body. Most people only get those experiences during crises.
Wow. So when you meditate, do you have any experiences that are out of body, or are there times that you do meditation and you just don't really feel anything?
I have, but I'm still in the state where I'm getting hit on the head. Now, I'm moving in the right direction because some of those experiences happen more often, so I'm getting my noggin hit more than the average person, perhaps. But I'm still not in control of that, where I can go to that mystical island at will. Like right now, if I was Swami Nitty Gritty, I could be talking to you, and I could take my physical body to that mystical island, not just my thought process.
So as you continue on your path, you're starting to notice things in your daily life more that happen as a result of perhaps synchronicity or whatever you want to call it. You're not only are they happening more, but you're, I guess, more aware of those kind of things that's going on with you?
Yes. You start with an awareness, and then it increases. Like, I'm aware of when this happens to other people. One time I was on a tennis court at a ranch in mid-Texas with Master Chen, who was leading people in Tai Chi. Suddenly, a jet flew overhead, and I was aware of this energy link between Master Chen and the jet plane. And I thought to myself, wow, that was weird. What the heck was that? Well, we get back to the ranch, and Master Chen starts talking. He says, I was out there on the tennis court, and suddenly I was in a jet plane talking to this lady. And I thought, wow, I felt that.
Wow.
I know what jet plane he was in. Now, I don't know if anyone else in the audience had felt that or not, or in the class, but they probably did. He has more advanced students than me, for sure.
What do you make of people that have experiences like, you know how you watch stories on perhaps TV? We don't really watch TV anymore, but you'd see a story about someone who was about to get on an airplane, and they say, I had this intuition that I shouldn't get on the plane, and that plane ended up crashing. But then you also have people on the flip side have those similar kind of stories. I've had them where I felt like something was telling me not to get on this plane, but then I got on anyway, and everything was fine. What do you think was going on with that?
Well, sometimes when our intuition is working correctly, it can give us warning signs, and sometimes it's fears that could have happened, and in fact, it might have happened, but your consciousness might have overcome the situation. Now, one of my favorite movies, I'm attempting to think what the name of it was. It was about a man who is going to go on a plane, or a college student, I think, and he suddenly lives what's going to happen in advance, gets off the plane, 6 or 7 other people get off the plane with him, and then they're actually angry with him because their karma is changed. Now, death has a plan. This is called karma. So it starts picking them off one after one, and the hero of the story has to figure out what the plan of death is. That's basically karma, and outwit it. And, of course, it's very hard to outwit because that plan is our genetic programming, our hereditary. So you have to outwit your karma to get to that level. In the movie, he was semi-successful because I believe by the second movie, he was dead.
Okay.
That's a Final Destination, huh?
That's the one of my favorite movies. It was a brilliant little movie. Now, afterwards they made 2, 3, 4. It was just special effects. People want to watch people get offed in novel ways. But the first movie made a brilliant point about that, how death does have a plan. It's called karma, and meditation gets you out of your story so you don't have to experience that in sequential order, like happened in the movie. Remember, the people who were supposed to die on the airplane died in the order that they were supposed to die on the airplane. That's called being stuck in time, or a cal, instead of using timing to escape the time. That's called frequency. We all call it frequency meditation, but we don't realize we're talking about timing. That's all it is.
So you said that death's plan could change, and you could call it whatever you'd like. I guess anyone could put their label on it that they feel comfortable with. But why would the plan of death change? Is it because you're not living what you're supposed to be doing, kind of thing?
Yes, you get beyond it, because death is at the heart chakra. They don't tell you that. Once you get to the heart chakra, you get to the point where you become the drop of water that falls into the ocean. To get above that level, you must go to the thyroid center, or the fifth chakra, which is known as mind acting on energy. You're now controlling it. That is called a fifth level master, and it's an example of fifth level mastery, which must overcome death or the heart chakra.
Wow. Okay, so it is possible to change that through specific principles and living in the way that we're supposed to be living.
Yes, it is. Now, some masters don't change their karma, because ultimately you know that it's a movie and you just live it through. But we are capable of changing that, and in some cases, people come to this earth who do change it. Now, many times we change it, but we change it within the movie. So if I watch a movie where someone is supposed to be in a car crash, and a psychic comes and tells him, don't get in that car, and he doesn't, he changes the movie. But on another level, no matter how many times I watch that movie, it's the same movie over and over and over. The psychic always intervenes. And so where is the predestination in that?
Wow, that's just wild stuff. So how does oxygen in the atmosphere act as the witness for watching the entire show here?
Well, if I hold my nose for 4 minutes, the oxygen in my body stops my brain from regulating. I get all these free radicals. Now we're down to chemistry. They destroy my brain, and I become a vegetable. So obviously oxygen is what is real and is consciousness, and that is the witness. Without the oxygen, I go blank and I can't think of anything. Now, by the way, when people are in comas, they are witnessing the whole thing. They are aware. When we pull the plug on a person in a coma, they are totally aware. They're in an alpha brainwave. This has been proven. They're not in a non-existent place. They're in an alpha brainwave. They just cannot communicate with us. They don't have nitrogen, hydrogen, carbon dioxide, which the communication occurs. Carbon dioxide is where we get the mental telepathy. The hydrogen, or desire, is where we get the psychokinesis to control that carrier wave. And nitrogen is where we make it permanent for bilocation or even multi-location. And many, many stories exist of saints and unusual people, whether in India or in Europe or in the United States, where they're in two places at once, where they appear to save someone someplace when they never left their living room in another state or country. So
are they having experiences in two places at the same time, kind of thing?
Yes. As one time I was fascinated with synchronicity because I was studying the I Ching and the Chinese Book of Changes. And so I asked nitty-gritty, what is synchronicity? And he said, have you ever heard of photo finish? And I said, yes. Well, a synchronicity is when two horses come in on the race at exactly the same time. Uh-huh. He said, now, nirvana is when all the horses come in at the same time. And, of course, we experience that as the end of time and the beginning of timing, because now we're in a state that doesn't even have a plot, that doesn't have a past or a future. And our brain can't stand blank. It can't stand that state, so we come out of it back into the linear existence. So the brain and the mind can't stand blank. We obviously have to get out of the mind and dump it along the way.
Wow. So the entire idea of having a linear existence is really detrimental to our entire life, I guess, because when people talk about, how old you are, they'll say, I'm 35 revolutions around the sun or 70 revolutions around the sun. So we want to start getting out of the mindset of this linear idea of time.
Mindset, set like in concrete. And we don't want that. We want it to be like liquid. We want it to be air. In fact, many of the Tai Chi analogies have to do with water. Be like water and flow around the rock. But most of us become rock-like, and then we live out the rock's existence. We live out our karma.
Okay.
And, of course, death has a plan, because karma is basically a fancy word for death. When we talk about Kal in India, Kal, the evil Kal, well, it's also found in Kali Yuga. It means time. It's basically the Asian version of Father Time, who every year we kick out, and the little baby of the new year comes back, and when we can be that little baby, just oxygen as a witness, we are free. Until then, we're caught by Father Time with his scythe. He's also an image of death, as is Kal in India, the evil Kal, or Kali, when we want to give it a female form, it's the evil Kali, and the cult of Kali.
Wow. So with people and their thoughts about their own lifespan, and we look in the West, they're actually just everywhere. I mean, the human lifespan today is conventionally considered to be around, I don't know, what is it, in the mid-70s or something. Obviously, people live a lot longer and can live a lot longer. With that kind of an idea, what we want to do then, from everything I'm gathering from what you're saying, is we want to look further, deeper into what we're here on Earth to do and understand what our passions are, as a way to change whatever the death script is for us. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yes, both are possible. We can live 1,000 years with only living until 5 years old, or we can live 5 years and being 1,000 years old. And we have the option of extreme longevity. The medical record, supposedly, of validation is that French lady who lived to 122. But Master Chen's master was a woman, and she lived to 130. And there's many accounts, if you go through the history books, of people as long ago as 1910 remembering themselves being a child during the Revolutionary War. That's 180 or so. So longevity, the scientists cannot imagine us living more than this 122-year-old lady.
Right.
Yet conventional science does admit that most of us die from 40 miles of bad road syndrome, and we do have the ability to live longer. Now, they want to mess with stem cells, but that's not going to be the answer. Cell cells, the answer is going to be in human consciousness, which determines whether we live or die.
But doesn't it presuppose, when people have these kind of ideas, doesn't it presuppose that they have this idea that death is somehow bad? Like they want to live for a long time, they want to live till they're 150 or 180 because they fear death, and they want death to be put off because it's somehow been labeled as bad for them?
That's Carl Jung speaking. Yes, and that's a way to not accept the fact that we can be immortal. But in reality, nothing dies. As Swami Nitty-Gritty put it, like it or not, we all survive our decent burial. So really, there's no rush. It's just, do you want to keep living in the movie over and over and over for millennia, or do you wish to escape the movie? But no, you cannot die, and so it's nothing to be afraid of. In fact, if you're afraid of it, it will actually block the experience. But people like Carl Jung put a lid on it and said, you have to accept death. BS, you don't have to accept death because it doesn't exist.
Yeah, you can't accept something that doesn't exist, right?
Yes, like think of life as a dream. When you dream, you go to places, and then you wake up. Well, we could wake up from this dream, too, if we chose, but we enjoy the dreaming over and over and over. So, in fact, sleep has been compared to death as death's younger brother. We go to sleep, we become someone else, we enjoy it, we do things we wouldn't ordinarily do, and then we come back.
And then we sort of die every night, don't we?
Yes. We do that when we come out of our dream. We're born in another body. We have another dream. We forget it. Sometimes people have memories of their past life. Sometimes mostly they don't, because it's educated out. People, when you're raised, say, well, you weren't born before, you can't remember that. But there's been cases, very scientific cases. Eon something or other, a scientist, wrote a book called 20 Cases Suggestive of Reincarnation. He took 20 people and extensively wrote that they knew facts about their past life that they couldn't have known. This one little girl found where the jewels were hidden under the house she lived in so many hundreds of miles away, and validated all the things that she knew this type of thing.
What was the name of that book that you just mentioned?
I believe it's called 20 Cases Suggestive of Reincarnation by, maybe his name is Eon Stevenson. He wrote a second book very similar to that, too.
Ian Stevenson, okay.
I believe it's Eon Stevenson. It's been a while since I've seen that.
It's interesting.
We used to carry it in the metaphysical bookstore I worked at.
Have you heard or seen that video on YouTube that talks about that little boy, and he had this experience in World War II, or I forget, when some war where he was a pilot, and he goes into the past of who he was in a past life, and during the war, he remembers his plane being shot down, and who all of his friends were, and all this kind of stuff, going back into that time, and 1950s or 40s, and this kid was 3 and 5 years old, having all these experiences. It's quite amazing.
Yes, they exist. In fact, my son's first wife, she had repetitive memories of palm trees and another life. And as a child, she kept on telling her parents that, and she was so insistent, they took her to a psychiatrist. Well, the psychiatrist tested her and said, she really believes this, but she'll grow out of it. And so she didn't grow out of it. She had my son taking her around the San Fernando Valley looking for her house. Well, eventually, I took them both to see Swami Nitty Gritty. And he asked her a question. He said, what color do you think of? She said, blue. And he said, you were a pilot. Your husband was a pilot during just before the Second World War, and he was killed. You became a window washer as a side job and fell off the platform and weren't dead. You were in a catatonic state, and that's why you remember your lifetime, because you were aware of them going through the rites of pronouncing you dead and interring you, and that led to the trauma. Well, when I was driving them back to the San Fernando Valley, she said, but he didn't say where I was. And he said, where is the place you said you would love to go? And she said, Hawaii. And then she said, oh my God, I get it now, the palm trees.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
So anyway, many times catatonic experiences, again, like you're out of your body because of an emergency, that can happen in remembering past lives. If you were killed by a knife or in a horrible way, or were in a catatonic experience like that, you would be more likely to remember it. Or if it was a life of great joy, you might be born into poverty and be aggravated because you were a billionaire in a past life. Where's my money?
Yeah, right. What do you think is going on? It's so interesting when you see people that die early, and these are sometimes people that we would categorize as being just great people, the kindest of hearts, and all this kind of stuff. And then you see, contrasted to that, serial killers that live in jail for, they're into their 90s. I wonder what's going on there. Do you have any thoughts about that?
Well, Carl Jung said that when you were the puree, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, it's a French word, it means someone who dies when they're in their 30s. And Adonis said there's 3 places you can die in higher consciousness if you don't continue on in a physical body. One is at 30 or 33, like happened to Christ, happened to St. Teresa out there in El Paso. Or you can live into your 60s, and the last chance you get is in your 90s. And you have a chance then to become consciousness and realize that you can live forever in the moment. All true teachers will tell you that the moment is where eternity is. Once you go into the moment, it all stops. You're in eternity. There's no past, no future, only the eternal now, which is the momentum, which is the moment or the momentous experience.
So what happened to these people in their 30s? They just, like, what did they do? They didn't do something, or something wasn't correct for them to keep living on?
They lived forever inside their short times, perhaps. Now, that doesn't always happen. Sometimes karma determines that they're going to leave at that particular time. What I'm saying is the possibility of this is there. Most people don't realize that the good and the bad are interconnected. If you become too good, you actually become bad. I'll give you an example. I was in a bus one time riding with these two ladies that were basically church ladies, and they started talking about the evils of smoking. Mm-hmm. They were so adamant about it that it aggravated me, and I jumped out of the bus, being a non-smoker, looking for a place to buy a pack of cigarettes. So many times these because fortunately I couldn't find a place.
Right.
But it was in Malibu, and there was no store nearby, and the next bus was coming. Well, anyway, these two ladies, unwittingly, by being very, very good, goody-goody, sweetie-sweetie, nicey-niceys, as Swami Nitty-Gritty called them, actually created evil in the world by having a reaction to their so-called good thoughts. Uh-huh. The true spiritual position is neutrality. That's yes, no, maybe. It's not yes, it's not no, it's maybe. Swami Nitty-Gritty would hold up a pencil and saying, how many ends does this pencil have? Invariably, people would say 2 ends. And, of course, the correct answer is no ends or infinite ends. But we look at the two sides, make it into black and white, good and bad, whatever.
Right.
We have conscious and unconscious, and the mind does that. It lives in polarity. The first spiritual trick to get out of it is think in yes, no, maybe. So if you have sense and nonsense, the way to get out of that is through common sense. That unites both sense and nonsense. But people don't think that way. They think in twos or polarity digitally, just like a computer. A computer doesn't have consciousness because it isn't a tri computer where it uses all three functions of the brain.
So the trick for our culture, I mean, everything seems to be, like you said, polarity. So we're looking for maybe like a third way.
Yes, the original polarity, by the way, is sperm and the ovum. Uh-huh. The sperm grows into the left hemisphere of the brain, and the ovum grows into the right hemisphere of the brain. Now, the right hemisphere of the brain is intuition. We need it, but we also need to validate it through linear thinking. So we do need both. The corpus callosum and other structures in the brain are the connections. Now, women have more access and a larger corpus callosum. They have an example. You'll notice that on the spiritual path, 9 out of 10 people are women. Mm-hmm. In fact, in the 360 or so Catholic saints who didn't decompose completely, 9/10 of them are women. And yet the Catholic religion is basically a guy thing. But the saints who didn't decompose were all women, 9/10 of them.
Okay, so kind of wrapping up here a little bit. By the way, Kate had to leave the studio, and she feels so bad. She wanted to be as part of the end of the call, but she said to say bye to you. She was so sad about that.
Say bye to, and we'll meet again.
We will meet again. Okay, so wrapping up, what are some things that people can do? I'm thinking of some things that people can do to increase perhaps their awareness or perhaps their ability to do some of these things in their daily life. I'm thinking of things like decalcifying the pineal gland. Some people take ayahuasca and these crazy herbs and stuff like that. But what are some things people can do, maybe ingest even, or things that they can do to enhance these kind of levels in their body?
Strangely enough, we want to calcify our pineal gland. They've got it backwards, but we want to take the fluoride out of it.
Okay.
Because the fluoride is what causes the problem, but the calcium actually forms a lens, like in quinine. The first cameras were actually done with feldspar, a type of calcite, and so we need that in our pineal gland. You'll call it. they call it sand gland in meditation, or the basically brain sand. Brain sand is the word I'm looking for. And you'll find that on the internet if you wish to learn about brain sand.
Does the calcium always create that lens, or does it sometimes?
No, unfortunately it calcifies. Just like our bones are meant to be soft and pliable, but we cement them in whatever the word is. Basically it's calcified, hard type of calcium. Until you're about 11 or 12, your bones are very flexible. When I was a child, I had my fingers caught in a door. And my father, we had the car set up so that, the kids couldn't open the door and jump out of the car while it was moving. Uh-huh. So before they realized what happened, I had my hand caught in the door for like about a minute before they realized my fingers were in the door. Wow. Well, even with that slammed door, my fingers weren't broken. We went to a doctor immediately, but the doctor said, fortunately, your bones are so flexible that the car door slammed tight there, did not break a single bone.
Wow, that's
all I did was lose a fingernail, right?
That's not, yeah, geez. So we want to we don't want to decalcify our pineal gland.
No, we actually want to calcify it, but we want to calcify it correctly, and that answer is in brain sand. And we also want to get the melatonin out of it. We hear melatonin as being the good guy. We actually want melanin. Melatonin is the way of the spine and kundalini. Melanin is the way of the skin. And once we learn to think with our skin instead of our brain and nervous system, we are free.
Wow. What about things like Ormus or these other substances people can ingest that supposedly help this kind of deeper spiritual work?
Yes, and one of the things they can take is whey powder, which you advertise, because what cancer is a nitrogen deficiency. Cancer is actually the way we have these psychic abilities, the way we enhance it. Cancer is not a damaged cell. It's a perfectly functional cell, but it's like a rogue elephant. We need to harness it to do that work. And we work it by brain sand is one way that we do it.
What is brain sand again?
Brain sand is 4 or 5 chemicals that appear in the brain, including calcium sulfate and others.
Interesting.
In fact, I'll list the 4 things in brain sand: calcium phosphate, calcium carbonate, magnesium phosphate, and ammonium phosphate. You need that in your pineal gland for it to function. And basically, the silicone that is in there, you want into your bones to make structural bones for space travel. For instance, when we space travel, people lose the calcium out of their bones. Well, you want to do that in space travel. You want to put it in the pineal gland, and you want the silicone in the pineal gland to go into the bones for firmness. Osteoporosis is not a problem with calcium. That's just it's like cement in a bridge. The structural support is in the silicone. If you've ever got a paper cut, that's caused by the silicone. That's those hard stickers in cactus or the gentle bending of a leaf is in the silicone.
Wow, that's interesting. So, wrapping up with this whole kind of idea that we were talking about with our thoughts being kind of living in this in the field, I should say. How can we be more aware of our thoughts, of synchronicities in our life? What kinds of practices can we do you think, to enhance this sort of synchronicity and this kind of an idea in our daily lives?
The first way is eat in time. That's time-conscious eating. When you eat the way nature has eaten for billions of years, basically trees seek the sun in the morning, the vine seeks it in the middle of the day in the grass, and the root and the sea life seeks it at night. When you synchronize that, you become the living example of the word religion, means religion, to tie back. But to tie back to what? They don't tell you. To tie back into the environment and be connected with the universal mind that is going on moment to moment in life. Once we tie back to that, now if we tie back too thoroughly, we die. But if you tie back a little ahead of it, you get the drop on the environment. You time it, and then you train it to be not a rogue elephant, which is going to trample you. The four elements are not going to trample you. You're going to be in control. The example of that is your own hand. If you tuck your thumb under the four elements, and you punch a wall, you'll break your thumb. Meditation is spreading your hand out. Now the thumb is separate from the other four elements. That's in Masonics. It's called the Masonic square. Mm-hmm. You notice a 90-degree angle between your thumb and the other fingers. Mm-hmm. Now, true living and dynamic meditation is you make the martial arts fist with the thumb controlling the four elements, and you go through the wall. The thumb represents the sonics, or willpower, or the word, where your word actually overcomes the elements earth, water, fire, and air. More correctly, that would be solid, liquid, plasma or thermal, and gaseous. When the word is in control of all four of those, then you have dynamic living.
So that's why it helps a lot to do some sort of chant or something during a meditation, a mantra or something.
Yes, and yawning, by the way, is the best meditation, because meditation is important too. If you eat in time, you are meditating. But when you yawn, you release your trauma, and you release your past, and you release your future too. Your future has already happened, by the way. Our life is unreeling. It is not evolving. It is unreeling. It's not devolving either. It's unreeling. So the movie's already been done. All we have to do is live it and realize we're living in the movie. We're living in the Matrix. We're living in Dark City. We're living on the 13th floor.
So yawning is a really, really a beneficial thing, and more so than people probably realize.
Yes, it's when we leave our body and we can go to other places. It's the secret of astral projection and the higher states of consciousness. Because when people are under trauma, what happens? They hold their breath. But when you release your breath, that's called a yawn. And isn't it interesting? You actually help the entire world, because everybody in the room starts yawning when you yawn. Ever notice that? Mm-hmm. Best contagious disease going. Now, here's another thing people don't know. If I yawn right now, somebody simultaneously is yawning in Mongolia or in Argentina.
Uh-huh.
Because my yawning is contagious on an omnidirectional level.
Wow, throughout the entire Earth, because we're all connected.
If you wish to help the planet, the best thing you can do is yawn.
Oh, that is so interesting. Wow.
And you feed the trees, too. Your carbon dioxide is filet mignon to the trees outdoors, to the plants in the garden, and the plants in your house as well.
That is good stuff. Wow. Great information. Thank you, Adam. I don't know where you come up with this stuff. It's fascinating.
It's all available to all of us if you go inside, and when you go inside, you'll find that inside was outside all the time.
It's all the same, isn't it?
Yes,
wow.
It is.
Interesting stuff. Well, thank you so much, Adam. Are you working on any new projects right now, or is anything new coming up for you?
Well, late next month, I'm going to New Zealand for 2 or 3 months to do some business there and check out the country. And I may be bi-coastal, bi-country, whatever you call it. I'll be on in both places.
Really?
But I have a local line. I can still do shows or whatever, because I have Magic Jack, and I have, of course, Skype, both of them, whichever works out best. And so I'll still be here, even though, isn't it interesting, we're basically doing something that the ancients would attribute to magic. I'm talking to you, and you're about 300 miles away from me.
I know, it's fascinating. And then someone listening could be listening to this 5 years in the future in Africa. It's just amazing.
Yes, this would be considered supernatural just 100 years ago, or a couple of 100 years ago. It would be considered psychic phenomena. Well, our minds work in the same way. Back in the jungle, the guy was coming home and said, make me dinner, and the cave woman would say, okay, and she'd know in advance when the hunting party was coming back, or however it worked.
Yeah.
There was also a matriarchy where women were in control at one time, more than men were.
And they were still communicating with each other. So are people able to contact you through Skype if they want to work with you personally? Do you still do that?
You know, I don't do consultations anymore, but my work now is teaching people to help themselves. I'd rather teach them how to fish themselves, because if they call me, they're vulnerable to what I know, and they have to keep coming back to me. I wish to teach people how they can do it themselves so that they won't have to have an external agent telling them what to do. My goal is to put myself out of business. But I've got a lot of work to do. I'll be here a long time, I guess, because there's a lot of people that don't know how to fish for themselves.
Yeah.
So my work now is to teach people how to fish.
So how do you do that? Do you work with people and teach them how to do that individually as a separate kind of thing, or how does that work?
Well, there's many things in the work right now and ideas about that. One thing that I may be doing for a while is have someone organize a workshop where they're doing the organization. I don't have to be bothered by that. Mm-hmm. And I charge a flat fee, maybe $500 or something like that. And then they get the people together, and if you get 10 people, it costs them, $50 or something like that each. And they can either organize and take my information for free by charging, or they can share in that and do it that way. That's my idea so far, and I haven't completely worked it out.
Okay.
I've just gone from consultations to this idea, which I've been thinking about for a long time. I'm really leaving people vulnerable, because whenever they stub their toe, they have to call me and say, the color is purple and I stubbed my toe on the left side. What does that mean?
Yeah.
Well, if they know it themselves, they don't need me. I'm out of the picture. That's where I choose to be.
That's the best place, because then people can take care of their own health, which is where we're all trying to get,
Self-empowerment, that's what I'm looking at. Or actually cell empowerment. Our cell is either a prison cell or it's an energy cell. We have that choice, and I'd like to introduce people to that concept.
Well, we will be definitely in touch. You said you're going to be in New Zealand next month, is that correct?
And next month. And it's like a local call for you, because it's still that number that I gave you, that you called here just a little while ago. And call me anytime.
I love it. Okay, well, great. We will be in touch, and perhaps we can do another show. I would love to do that if you're available.
Oh, I'm available anytime. Yeah, you can pretty much pick it. It's only Mondays and Saturdays I'm not free, but any other time at your convenience.
Okay.
I'm ready.
Well, I love it. Thank you, Adam Bergstrom. Thank you for all your work and for taking time today. I appreciate that.
Thank you, too, very much, both you and Kate.
We will be in touch, and we'll talk soon.
Great.
Thanks, Adam.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Blue skies and green lights.
Oh, yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
So I'm back.
You're back.
I'm back and ready to break down
Back in action.
I missed the last few minutes of Adam's interview, but because I had to go to an appointment. But yeah.
What did you think?
I love Mr. Bergstrom.
Wasn't he an interesting guy?
Gosh, that stuff just makes the mind reel, doesn't it?
I know. What did we talk about? What
didn't we talk about?
Yeah, what didn't we cover in that?
Our brain's out of our body. Our mind's not even in our body.
Yeah. Some of our memories originate in our microbiome. You ever heard that before?
All the time. Who doesn't talk about that?
You ever get taught that in school?
Right, along with engrams. And
some of our memories originates as thoughts in the minds of people thousands of miles distant from us.
That's even weirder.
Yeah.
Wasn't there an experiment that you were talking about one time?
Oh, yeah. The 100th monkey syndrome.
That's right. Experiment? Yeah.
Yeah, where they took these 100 monkeys. I may be butchering this, and if you're listening to this and you actually know what they did, you're going to be listening thinking, oh, he got this all wrong. But
the idea of it.
Yeah, as far as what I can remember is they took about 100 of these monkeys or something like that off the coast in these islands in Japan. And they somehow gave them coconuts or something like that to open up, and they couldn't open them. And then they did the same thing with a different island, different monkeys, same experiment. They couldn't open them. And then what happened was they either taught a monkey at the original island, or the monkey figured it out. I'm not sure which, but at the exact moment that the monkey figured out how to open the coconut, all of the other monkeys on the other island started figuring it out within hours.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so I may have gotten the coconut thing wrong. I'm not sure exactly, but it's that
and
idea.
they weren't even monkeys. They weren't even, there was no experiment.
Yeah, I just had a dream last night. I don't know what.
Adam Bergstrom would probably agree with that.
No, but yeah, that's the gist of that 100th monkey experiment. You can look it up online and probably get the actual true story, but that's the idea.
Yeah,
crazy.
that stuff's pretty. The more you talk to people, the more I'm like, I don't know anything anymore. You know?
Yeah,
I don't know anything I thought I knew, or how I thought I knew things worked. It's kind of turning that upside down.
Well, that's what's kind of going on when people have out-of-body experiences during surgery or when they die and they're kind of looking down at the operating table.
Wow, yeah.
You know?
That's wild. I've never had one of those experiences.
That's so strange.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah, weird.
Always a good time talking to Adam Bergstrom, though. Are we having him on again soon?
I think so. We're going to schedule him. Yeah, we're going to have him back on. He may be in New Zealand at the time.
Oh, that's right. Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'd like to get him on when he's not in New Zealand because I'm not sure how the connection to the internet will be.
Oh, right.
If he's going to be really good quality, but
and we're sorry again for all of our static problems over here at the Extreme Health Studio.
Yeah, and how about that bit he was talking about how our brain or our thoughts don't exist in our minds.
Yeah, that's what I was saying at the beginning. I was like, what's that? When you start to even try to break that down and comprehend what that means, that is the most wild. But, I mean, it's a wild thought, but it kind of makes sense. I mean...
Mm-hmm. It does.
Like, I don't feel like my soul is really in my body, and either it makes sense that your mind wouldn't be either. The things that are really your essence of who you are.
Right.
They're not like a physical thing in your body, really.
Yeah, it's just...
It's crazy.
It's like what Greg Braden talks about, you know, like the divine matrix or whatever it's called.
Right, right.
Where he talks about the source field and all that, where that the field itself is the carrier by which, you know, energy is transferred and stuff, and so it's like picking up radio frequency waves. You know, you turn your radio station to a certain frequency and you get, you know, people in the city closest to you talking, and it's like that same kind of an idea.
Yeah.
But it's just the same thing is going on with our thoughts, you know, according to Adam or Greg Braden. Right. Crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, that'll give you something to chew on for a while. You know?
It would.
It will.
Yeah, it would.
Why are you laughing? It's true.
No, it's true.
Something to marinate on and think about.
So if you're interested in Adam Bergstrom, you can check out his website, solarman111.com, and you can check out any of the other shows that we've done with him, 78, 89, 100, and 116. And this is episode number 163. So if you have any questions or comments about this show, physical bilocation, multi-location, you know, anything else about it, you can just leave your comments below. We'd love to have you join that way and
get some discussion rolling.
Yeah, get some discussion going. And if you'd like to follow us on Facebook, please send this show to your friends on Facebook. Follow us on Facebook. That would help get the word out to people. That would be excellent. And as always, we have our store if you're interested in any of the lifestyle products or supplements or anything like that. Rebounders, juicers, blenders, all that good stuff. We have that in our store. So make sure to peruse that. We're going to be adding some more products frequently on a weekly basis here. So check that out and then let us know if there's anything we can ever do to help you. We'd love to help you out in any way we possibly can. And we'll catch you in the next episode. Thanks for listening.
Thank you for listening to this episode.
It's time to go for now, but our mission does not end with this show.
Justin and Kate will be back with another interview packed full of ideas, discoveries, and unique ways to regain your health.
Head on over to extremehealthradio.com/subscribe and instantly download our free gift too that contains cutting-edge strategies to start making healthy lifestyle changes today.
No material on this blog is intended to suggest that you should not seek professional medical care. Always work with qualified medical professionals, even as you educate yourself in the field of live food nutrition and alternative medicine. I'm not a doctor, nor am I offering readers or listeners medical advice of any kind. None of the information offered here should be interpreted as a diagnosis of any disease, nor an attempt to treat or prevent any disease or condition. While information in this blog and during this podcast is discussed in the context of numerous conditions, it can be dangerous to take action based on any